Hi everyone and welcome to our very first pick a card reading in this new year. So naturally the subject and the topic of this reading is going to be how will the year 2021 play out in my life. This is a pick a card reading, so it is based on divine synchronicity. Just take in what resonates and discard the rest. Before I begin, I would just like to mention that this is the first pick a card reading that I'm creating in this new year. So before I get to the recording phase, I have to prepare the cards, shuffle them, etc. I mean the whole ritual part of any reading. And while doing all of that, everything felt so very, very different. And not just the cards which popped up, which were totally unexpected, but also the general feeling, the vibe of everything. Well, it was something which I haven't experienced before personally, and I have done readings basically all my life, all my teenage years, all my adult life, and it never felt so unusual than it does right now. Astrologically speaking, it does make a lot of sense because after all, we had a great conjunction. So for the past 200 years, everything, including the flow of mystical, ethereal energies, was basically dominated by the earth element. And starting from the 21st December 2020, everything is basically shifting to the air element, as in Aquarius. But of course that part is really theoretical. To actually feel the massive difference, to feel the change, well, that is really unusual and unexpected, at least from my behalf. So after all of these being said, the instructions are very simple, like always. Just look at the 5 pile of cards for a couple of seconds or as long as you need, and then choose the number which appeals to your intuitive senses the most, and of course then just jump straight to the interpretation. You can find the timestamps in the comments and description below. For those of you who have chosen the first pile, your cards are the Chariot, Ace of Swords, and the Emperor reversed. Now this is a truly wonderful energy because on one hand it is so very in tune with the symbolism of Aquarius, so the astrology of all this period and the overall view of the year. And it seems that it is you guys who are going to truly benefit from this, from every single perspective. But there is going to be one major difference. The Emperor card is in reverse position, and that kind of means that you will no longer try and go after things that you desire, things that you want, even if those things are basically plans that you need to complete, that you need to build up in the classical way, whereas you set the goal, set the intention, and then just work your way towards its completion. And that means that you have to do sometimes whatever it takes, patience, perseverance, ambition, etc. So basically how life was playing out under the dominance of the earth element, it is this part which changes radically. So that means that ambitioning yourself and just being fixated on your goals is no longer gonna work, but the right attitude to achieve whatever you desire is to simply go with the flow and juggle your time, the opportunities, and everything that life basically is going to offer you to get where you want to be, to achieve your goals. So rather than being fixated on something and building everything around that, you just have to be very versatile, adaptable, and just seize opportunities when they arise. Even if sometimes that means straying from your path or putting a short-term pause on the big goal, on the big picture, and just working with whatever the eternal now, the present, offers you. So, sometimes things are going to be very, very quick in an instant. That is very suggestive of the Ace of Swords energy, because that is really, really fast. It is the speed of communication, the speed of thoughts and words, basically. And that means that there are going to be periods, for example, like months, when everything that you need to have, may that be a person, a communication, correspondence, connections, a paperwork to go really, really quickly, offers, and even inner stuff like coming up with the right plan, with the right options, the right details, arranging everything, managing everything. So there are going to be periods when everything will come together very, very quickly, almost as in an instant. And that means that you truly have to mobilize yourself and just multitask everything, because that will be the opportunity, the possibility, even if it is like a solution to 10 different problems that you have in your life. If they come together simultaneously, well, then there's nothing you can do but to grab every opportunity that you possibly can and manage your way around that. And of course, equally, the Emperor reverse. There are going to be moments of silence when you can relax, when you can focus on something totally else and not be afraid, not be frustrated that your plans are being put on hold, because this can just be a karmic period of regeneration, recuperation, recharging your batteries. So whatever you do, there is one attitude which has no place in 2021, and that is my way or the highway. Now, this is easier for some people, for example, like water signs and air signs, but it is more challenging and almost like a battle with oneself and with one's inner drive for fire signs, for example, because they are so very intense that they have to enact what they feel the moment when they feel it with great intensity. And they don't really take no for an answer, regardless if it comes from a person or from karma itself. And also people born with Pluto in Scorpio, now regardless of which area of your life that is placed in, well, it still means intensity, singularity, being able to focus, all the power of your being concentrated in one point to get where you want to be, to achieve your goal, or, to satisfy your needs. So it is also going to be pretty challenging for people born with Pluto in Scorpio. But the good side to this is that it may only be hard or rather challenging the first couple of occasions, because as soon as you get the hang of it, as you enter into a state of flow and can simply trust that because whatever you want, whatever you need doesn't happen right now, it's not really a problem, because it is still coming at the right moment. And when it does come, well, it comes with everything that you can possibly need. So as soon as you enter this flow, as soon as you get used to it, and as soon as you trust the process, it will be easier and easier. And this inner emperor of yours is going to be quite intuitive, which is very unusual, because the emperor is usually instinct. The emperor is usually strong gut feeling, strong emotions, strong desires taking over and you enacting them. But when it works in the opposite way, let's say, well, that is a blessing in itself, because it makes being patient that much easier and effortless, because you just know that, your, symbolically speaking, your spider sense will tingle in the moment when the opportunity or whatever you need to have in your life is near. So with trust, this is a big bonus, a big addition to your long-term self-discipline and self-mastery. So after this being said, well, the Chariot is always good news because it means evolution, it means progress, it means heading towards something both new but also old. This isn't really a dichotomy, neither is it a contradiction, because that old is simply an impulse. Those are basically seeds of intention that you have been preparing to enact all your life. But until this moment, let's say, even if you tried it and even if you succeeded, well, things still weren't ideal, things still weren't truly supportive of your distinctiveness. And by this I mean the world, society, the dominance of the earth element, which made things very challenging because, when it is the earth element which dominates, well, that also means customs, traditions, rules, regulations, legislation. So maybe you had a bright idea, you had an ingenious plan, but you didn't have the diploma or the qualification or the, financial stability or the earthly power to enable that the way you wanted to. So you had to make compromises, you had to work with what you had, or you had to work towards the degree fulfilling the requirements, and that was almost like a self-defeating process, because by the time you got to the stage where you could actually complete your ideas, well, your passion was gone or things took a different turn. So even if you achieved a lot of your plans, a lot of your ideas and goals, they were not perfect, they were not ideal. And it took all this time for the world to change and rearrange, even if that change was drastic, dramatic, and somewhat negative, but it still did the job. It shattered all those old and stale elements like the customs and traditions which kept you in chains, which some way took away the brilliance of your plans and ideas. And that is exactly why your karmic journey had to go pretty slowly until this present moment for the world to open up and to be able to accept, receive, and work with your uniqueness and your distinctiveness. And the Ace of Swords is really good, or perhaps one of the best signs ever, because it means that wherever you go, whatever you do, people or the situation or everything that you will have in your life will actually require your uniqueness, your distinctiveness, the sharpness of your mind, the brilliance of your intellect, and your inner creative power. Because you are the type of person who can find and think of a solution to any problem, even the most unusual situations. So your ingenuity, your greatness, your brilliance, your visionary spirit that you embody is actually the main theme of the whole year 2021 and even the years to come. So your journey towards embracing your true destiny begins in the year 2021, and the Chariot is a valid reflection that this is just the beginning. You're just setting off on this journey, you're getting ready to conquer higher ground with the power of your intellect, with the brilliance of your mind, that Ace of Swords. And because the main energies of this year, so everything, are concentrated around the intellectual element, and this, as I said, is not going to change for the next 20 years, and even if you look at the big picture, the next 200 years, because more great conjunction will take place in air signs. So regardless of how we look at this, every air sign is somewhat intellectual. And because you represent exactly that archetype, the one with the brightest ideas, the one whose mind works with great speed and great efficiency, it's only natural and logical that you are going to be very, very active. Well, on one hand, people, especially those people who are involved in any kind of activities and you know them, even if they're just acquaintances, well, they are going to seek you out if it's a collaboration, partnership, etc. that they will need. Well, it's obvious that they're going to offer you the position first of all. Even outside of people who you know and you have in your life already, well, there are going to be a lot of opportunities, almost ideal for someone like you out there. Maybe not yet, maybe not at the very, very beginning of the year, but as we head towards late spring, well, it is almost like a totally new world is going to open up in front of you. And the Ace of Swords also means that you are going to make your choices based on your preferences, based on what you think is best for you. And these choices are definitely not going to be like made out of desperation because nothing else is available, nothing else exists for you. Quite the contrary. Emperor reversed also should suggest that there might be so many possibilities out there that you won't even know what to choose. You won't even know what fits you more ideally, and this is exactly why you have to be really, really versatile, open-minded, to advance without any fears, without any insecurities, especially related to your inner decision-making process. There is no right or wrong choice. There only is what feels the most right for you at that moment. But as I said, this is just the moment, this is just the year when you are going to embark on that chariot and start your journey towards conquering higher ground. So nothing is gonna be complete, intact, whole yet. But this isn't a problem whatsoever, because you won't be the only one in this situation. A lot of other people will just start laying the first bricks. They will just start the construction of something great, meant to last for the long-term future. And basically you're just gonna be one person out of so many doing the same things, creating or working with your intellectual capabilities, working with your ideas, with your creativity, collaborating, communicating, negotiating, of course. And what is, I think, the most important, without fears, without insecurities, and with your mind being able to perceive that whatever you're doing, whatever you're building, whatever you're creating, wherever that chariot is taking you, is logical, it makes a lot of sense, it is possible, probable, you are being supported, you're doing a really good job. So basically you will have everything that you need to have self-confidence, to feel safe and secure, and to trust your journey, and not to shy away from investing work, energy, time, effort, and most importantly, intellectual energy and focus into whatever you're going to be doing. Some things are going to be totally new, totally unexpected. You are going to be doing even things which you have never ever imagined that you would be doing them. That part is absolutely about overcoming your limits or what you thought were your limits. The other part is actually quite an old energy, because those are based on old plans or old desires or something that you wanted to accomplish. Like, for example, it can be a business, a charity, an activity, a type of job, a certain specific kind of lifestyle. It can be very, very many things. And as I said, some of them you might have even tried out and you might have even succeeded, but it just wasn't right. It wasn't ideal. So it is all those things that are going to find new ways of being accomplished in this new era, of course. And 2021 is the start of everything, but this is more like a practical start when you actually go out and do it and work with everything. Because, psychologically speaking, you were already guided, or you already found your inner truth. You already started to believe in yourself and in your life story due to the events and how your life was altered by the year 2020. And this was really important in your case because it kind of gave you the valid reflection. It placed a very truthful mirror in front of you where you could draw the most relevant conclusions about sacrifice in your life, what is worth of being sacrificed for, let's say, security, to feel safe and grounded, to please other people, for example, and what are those things which must never ever be sacrificed regardless of the consequences, regardless of how life is, and your dreams and hope and whatever you believe in is definitely among those things which must never ever be sacrificed regardless of the consequences. And this was basically the psychological base of everything that is going to happen in your life in 2021, because the big karmic mirror reflected back at you that no matter what we do, no matter what we sacrifice, no matter how hard we try, we still cannot escape from chaos, from the insecurities and risks and dangers of life. For example, losing out, moments when our material lives are really affected by scarcity, poverty, losses. We simply cannot evade these experiences no matter what we do and no matter how wisely we try to choose. So the more precautious we are, the more basically scared we are of making unwise choices, the more we kind of create them for ourselves, because we just kind of distort our own visions when we lose our sense of adventures in life. And it is exactly that sense of adventure, the willingness and the courage it takes to sometimes risk or sometimes just to go with the flow without us being in control. It is this spirit of adventure, the inner teenager, so to speak, inside of you, which got resurrected in 2020, and it is exactly that part of your being which is going to be the most powerful in this new year. And that is also one of the reasons why the Emperor is reversed, because you are going to bestow freedom upon yourself in the sense that you will no longer try to control every single area of your life. And this means that you are going to feel and perceive the flow in your life that much more intensely, which means even more opportunities, which means even more adventures, even more connections, new friends, new opportunities. So it's really, really good. For those of you who have chosen the second pile, your cards are the Six of Swords reversed, the Emperor reversed, the Seven of Wands reversed. The fact that all of your cards are reversed is not a bad sign or anything negative. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a bad year, but rather they mean that this is gonna be a year which you have never ever experienced in your life. It shows that certain things, especially the most subtle things, for example, your luck, your fortune, the way that karma basically manifests in your life, or let's say just simply divine guidance, well, that has already changed profoundly. You just don't really know it yet. The first card, Six of Swords reversed, represents that you are really used to things having a very logical, linear, rational kind of manifestation in your life. So we get from A to B, from B to C, so everything is correlated, everything is logical, everything makes perfect sense. For example, like certain choices and decisions, of course, affect your future possibilities and how your life is going to look like in the future. So you are very, very used to living life in a very stable and logical manner. Of course, this is both good and bad. Good in the sense that you kind of know what to expect. You can easily anticipate things, both good and bad. But at the same time, this also means that when you don't have real chances, you don't have real opportunities, or simply when you know that nothing miraculous, nothing good can happen in your life because you simply don't have those doors open, well, that is also very logical, and very surely life always played out like that. But this is when things take a totally different turn, where nothing is gonna make sense, nothing is gonna be logical, nothing is gonna be linear, but not in a negative sense whatsoever, but rather so very many surprises, unexpected twists and turn of events are going to await you in every single area of life. And it is exactly that ability of yours to anticipate and calculate everything and make sense of that is gonna be rather unavailable, because things won't play out the way you imagine, the way it makes sense to your mind, even though you're really good at that. You're a really rational and logical person, so of course you can easily foresee things, you can easily anticipate things. But that was also your prison. That was also the biggest limitation in your life. It was your mind, because each and every time you successfully predicted how things are gonna turn out, well, each and every time life proved you that your logic is flawless, that your mind is working perfectly, that your sense of rationality is almost like a computer. And while in very many things in your life until this moment, this ability of yours to anticipate how things can turn out, well, it was like a guardian angel, because you chose very wisely, or at least you never chose very, very foolishly, because you just saw the rationality and the logic to all of it. But at the same time, it was the very thing that saved you so very many times, which imprisoned you and blocked out the positive expression of chaos, so to speak. Because hazard, chance is also chaos. And sometimes chaos is destructive, of course, it destabilizes everything. But other times it can create, like think about, let's say, lottery, that is also chaos. Things just align and there it is. In an instant, something new is born. But chaos can simply not be controlled, regardless of how flawless your logic and your mental capacity is. You can't calculate, you can't control chaos, it has a mystery, a mind of its own. And when you shut out one of its expressions, for example, you prevent certain things from falling apart, let's say, you also shut out the other one, the creative, the fortunate side. So this means that the power of your mind and your sense of rationality and logic, your scientific view of everything, while it did keep your life together in a structure, in a stability, but unfortunately that stability didn't really serve you. You might have just been safe and could function as an average human being, but it also prevented you from breaking free from your bonds, even though that was the thing you always desired and the one thing that always eluded you all throughout this life. And you might have tried so very many times to use your rationality, the power of your intellect, for example, to start a business where the plan was safe, it was logical, rational, it should have worked, or where you might have had a big talent, where very many people might have been able to reach your level of mastery, and still it didn't really work out in a way that was fitting for you, because your mind tried to control everything and it blocked out the miraculous element, as in the most positive expression of chaos. Now the Six of Swords does mean something else for some people. It can also mean that you learned, you studied, maybe you have higher education, maybe you studied a subject officially as in university, or have courses, diplomas, etc. But practically, as in job-wise, career-wise, or materially, your studies didn't really help you. But for you personally to become who you are and to have your level of understanding, your studies were necessary. But of course, in a very earthly way of looking at this, well, it is already a dichotomy, because you have these studies, but you never have the chance to truly use them in an earthly manner. So what's the point? Well, this is gonna be the year which shows you what was the whole point. Regardless if that Six of Swords reversed means studies, as in your diploma and the refinement of your skills and masteries, or if it just means that unused intellectual power that you possess, this is when you are definitely going to be able to use them, and not just be able, but maybe your own destiny is definitely gonna invite you to finally show your true brilliance, your true power, to basically brainstorm for a living, but not in a conventional, or not in a way which makes sense to you or is rational and logical right now in this present moment. It's gonna be a massive surprise, and also it's gonna be chaotic, because nothing will go as you anticipate, nothing will go as you expect it to go, and once again the Emperor reversed. You won't be in control of anything, so your only choice will be to go along with chaos. Let the unexpected, chance, hazard basically guide your life, and see where it gets you. Now, even though where it gets you is basically unforeseeable, but the guarantee is here. The Seven of Wands reversed is actually a very good sign, because it says no struggle, no drama, no hardship, no need to defend yourself, no need to act and make choices from survival instinct. It means a great ease in absolutely everything, as long as you just go with the flow and trust it. But the even bigger picture of all of these cards is living life the way you have never ever lived it before, or actually the opposite of what you're used to. And not in a scary or negative way, but think about all your lacks, all your weaknesses, everything that you have been missing from your life. Now, if you get the opposite of that, well, that is the most fantastic news, especially that it needs no effort, no sacrifice, no investment of power, ambition, and everything that the Seven of Wands can possibly suggest. And not even chasing an ideal, chasing a dream, chasing a passion. It is almost like freedom. Freedom from inner wants, inner needs, obsessions, or everything to make perfect sense and be logical. Life is also a mystery that we can possibly not decipher with our human logic, and it is exactly this part of the karmic path of 2021 where nothing is gonna make sense in a linear logic. That is gonna train your mind to upgrade itself to work with the non-linear logic. A non-linear logic which you have always been afraid of, for the simple fact that it doesn't offer any guarantees that things are gonna be okay. But once you're gonna experience, like it or not, that things are gonna be okay, even when things don't make perfect sense, in the same way that in the past sometimes when things made perfect sense, they still didn't work out because they were simply not fated, or it wasn't the right time in your life there and then. Well, all of this big contradiction between the past and the future, or better said the present, is definitely going to upgrade your mental sphere. And as I said, life is gonna be totally different than what it was. You are gonna be different. Reality, karma, everything in your life is gonna work differently. And this year 2021 is gonna be like a big learning process, adapting to something totally new. And that something totally new isn't anything that you can perceive, clearly grasp. It is not material, but neither rational, logical. It is almost like simply having stepped into a new dimension where things work radically differently. And a direct consequence of this is that your future will also change depending on the choices or whatever you choose to work with at the moment when they enter your life. And chances are you're definitely gonna have some very lucky moments out of the blue, out of apparently nowhere. And simply said, you will just have to start learning how to live more adventurously without the symbolic, of course, tyranny of the inner emperor, your control tendencies, a control which mostly applies to yourself, to your being, and to your life. Now, those of you who have chosen the third pile, your cards are the Devil reversed, Two of Cups reversed, and the Ten of Wands. Now, this is also a really unusual combination because it might suggest that the year 2021 is gonna be one with a lot of temptations. And these temptations are gonna be karmic in order to provoke you, so to speak, in order to enact all the valuable life lessons that you have learned these last 6 years of your life. And these lessons are mostly related to relationships you have with other people. Now, the Devil reversed definitely represents that in your past you had either a lot of toxic friendships where people just used your good intent, your idealistic and somewhat naive tendencies to make the world a better place, for example, or you believing in justice, fairness, friendship, love, etc. Or it could also mean that this was a relationship which simply didn't work out. For example, a romantic relationship, a partnership. It can also be a business partnership. But either way, there was a lot of manipulation in here. Where you might think that it was your partner or those friends or those people who manipulated you, who kind of led you on and used you. But the truth is that it was also your own doing as well, because you also manipulated yourself to keep on pleasing those people, or simply to accept the fact to have those people in your life and not break the relationship. It had to do a lot with guilt, or with fears of being abandoned, fears of no longer being needed, no longer being relevant, being totally alone. Or for many people, maybe those people helped you at one point in your life and you felt indebted to them in a very unhealthy and excessive manner, where you just couldn't basically find the determination needed to end the relationship or to break the contract, karmic contract, or even a legally binding contract if it was a marriage or a business, for example. So, karma, your life, your destiny, the divine, so to speak, has taught you in the most painful, hard, and sometimes even cruel manner that you really, really have to stand up for yourself. And when you feel something, it is your greatest duty towards your own being to enact what you feel. If you feel that someone simply doesn't belong in your life, if it doesn't feel right, well, you have to take action. And delaying this or talking yourself out of this is always the road to hell, symbolically speaking. Of course, it also taught you a lot about promises, because you are a kind of person who will do anything to be true to their word, but you might not have acknowledged that a lot of other people in your life are not like you. You might think that being true to your word is a principle that governs almost everything in life. For example, contract, let's say. And it is kind of true in an idealistic way, as in it actually is the guiding principle between interhuman relationships, but the principle is just a theory, an idea, and it is up to us to make it real, to make it have effects, even physical effects. And that is why so very many people can simply choose to not do this part. When even the slightest circumstantial changes appear, they will no longer keep their promise, keep their word, etc. And they have all the good excuses for this. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that you have to do the same. You can't change who you are. If you are someone who always has to be true to their word, well, that is who you have to be, no problem with that. But you also have to identify people who are not like you, who don't take it as seriously as you, and not allow them to have an influence in your life, or when they do promise you something, at least not to rely upon that, not to take it as granted. And what is really special about the year 2021, it's not gonna be a return of the old situation, the return of the old karma, where you're gonna attract, like a very needy person, or someone who you have to please and just can't say no to. But actually, this is a twist of fate, because it's gonna be the opposite. This is where, for one reason or the other, you are definitely gonna be in the center of attention. It is gonna be you who will attract people, and you will get a lot of attention, offers, maybe presents, maybe gestures of admiration, gestures of love, romantic declarations, romantic offers, maybe compliments, honors, favors, people just simply wanting to please you and be in your company. And even though you are kind of used to being someone who is always needed, but you're not used to someone being admired, placed in the center of attention, the center of other people's desires for no apparent reason, you're really not used to this part of the deal. So your karmic challenge is exactly not to be those people, not to embody their archetype who used you and hurt you, disappointed you, disillusioned you in the past. Because karma is going to put you in their shoes, in their situation, where someone just wants to give, someone wants to just shower you with unconditional everything. And you will have to be the person, the 10 of Wands, who says no thank you. Of course, this won't apply to absolutely everyone, because among those people, there are going to be some who are genuine, who are true, who are exactly like you, at least on a principle level. And it is those people who you have to allow and invite in your life, but basically block out everyone else. So very many events of 2021 will test and sometimes even challenge if you've truly learned the lesson, if you've truly found the trust and the confidence needed for you to trust your feelings. And this isn't just necessarily intuition, because intuition can just be getting a bad vibe from someone when you meet them the first time. And that's not always a big deal, because some people can just give the wrong impression without that actually being their true selves. But when that intuitive impulse of you not wanting to be connected to this person gets confirmed and gets confirmed further, well, it is that moment when you actually have to make the choice and be honest, be just straightforward and not allow them in your life. And of course, the opposite of this, when someone genuinely inspires you, when you actually feel something really positive about someone, but you don't get the confirmation straight away. Maybe that person is rather mysterious, or maybe they're shy and they just can't show you who they are and how they are straight away. That is another side of this karmic test, to see if you're willing to trust your feeling and just give them time. So symbolically speaking, it's almost like the universe giving you a big sack of coal, but among that coal there are diamonds, and you will just have to check out the contents of the bag and select them. Where symbolically both the coal and the diamonds are going to be people in your life. And that 10 of Wands is not very easy for you, because that is your personal challenge, either to stand up for yourself and just block out whoever simply doesn't resonate with you, regardless of why they're connected, what they desire, and how unconditional and generous they might be. If there are not people who you feel comfortable with, well, even if they offer you riches, gold, diamonds, or the most expensive gifts unconditionally, you still have to be true to your feeling and just not allow them in your life. Because when you feel that something is not right, when something doesn't feel the way it should, well, you can almost be 100% convinced that as you would go along you would find out what that is, and ultimately the conclusion would still be to trust your inner voice regardless of how different the appearances may be. And also the opposite of this, where sometimes when you feel a strange attraction for someone, and by no means is this physical attraction, just simply a feeling, because that person is just bound to represent something important in your life. So basically the year 2021 is when you desired emotional freedom, and there it is, you have it. Your relation with the self and who it is that you are in the inside was never as strong, as clear, as positive, and it is right now. But that has to be basically looked after, defended, and valued. So this is why all the karmic focus is placed on your relationship with others, because others are basically a reflection of ourselves. And when you don't have anything in common with another person, of course that doesn't mean that you have to block them out totally, but you cannot allow them to be more important in your life than your feelings and your inner self allows. So even though managing your relationships and having to say no very, very diplomatically without hurting the other person or without creating drama, etc., is not going to be easy. It is going to feel like a burden, but the more effort you put into this, the more rewarding all the positive sides of this are going to feel. All those people and relationships which do belong in your life and which do have a meaning. And when you're gonna discover the beauty and the mystery and the magic, symbolically speaking of course, of all those people who you did feel something for, and their benevolent, artistic, inspirational, deeply moral and ethical nature, and their sheer goodwill is revealed each step of the way, with each moment when you meet and the relationship goes further. And as I said, it doesn't have to be just romantic, it can be professional, an associate, a friend, an acquaintance. It doesn't really matter, because this is gonna be the pleasant surprise. This is gonna be when you're actually not gonna be disappointed. Quite the opposite. Some people who you will meet are gonna overcome your wildest expectations, and some of those people are definitely gonna be role models, even for someone as moral, intact, ethically as you are. So taking care of yourself and being the ultimate judge in all your relationship and the effort this requires is definitely gonna be worth it. So this year is gonna surprise you and even delight you in the most favorable ways. For those of you who have chosen the fourth pile, your cards are the Three of Coins, the Knight of Wands, and the Six of Coins reversed. Now the overall picture is very clear. It is coins energy, so it doesn't just have to do with your material life, but also your work. Now the Knight of Wands is very important because it refers to the kind of work or activity or any kind of lucrative purpose which has to do with your passion, with something that you love, something that you're good at, and you feel fulfilled basically just by doing that activity, regardless of what it is, even if it's something which you don't make money out of right now. But if it is that you're already working with that, well, this simply means that all of what you're doing and everything that you have invested into that activity until this moment is going to be taken to a higher level. to a higher octave. But if you happen to be in the situation where you cannot do what you love the most, or where your livelihood comes from a totally different kind of job, career, or activity, then for you it is a massive change, because you will find the means, the opportunity, a way in which you can actually make it your living. And it's not just a minimal thing, but rather it is going to be very supportive of each and every area of your life. The Six of Coins reversed in this sense suggests that you're going to invest a lot into yourself. You're going to be generous. You're going to be appreciative of yourself, of your work, your sacrifice, and everything that you are doing and everything that you embody. And another side of this is that through your work, or whatever it is that you are gonna do, through your passion basically, you're also gonna have a very positive influence in the life of others. This may also mean a charitable activity, or whatever you do having a beneficial effect of your local community, or it can simply be something artistic where you inspire everyone who comes in contact with your work or whatever you're doing. So once again we get to the Knight of Wands, which means that you are definitely going to be living your passions, living your ascent of your career, of your lucrative life. And all of this is going to make you feel that much more powerful as a person, as a member of society, as someone truly valuable who has a lot to give and offer. Now, many of you might not be alone in this. Either you already have people who you collaborate with, or some of you need some kind of partnership or collaboration with others in order to enable your passions. Regardless of which situation you're in, well, it is definitely going to advantage the whole group, the whole partnership. So it's not just about you and your story, but it is also about all those other people who you collaborate with or who you are going to collaborate with, because they will be in the same situation. They also wish to live their passions. They have also a lot of energy, creativity, thoughts, ideas, and passion to invest into whatever you're going to be doing. And the most important element of this, they also want to serve the highest good. So this won't be all about money and profit and what's in it for me, but everything that you're going to be doing also has an element of either charity or affecting the lives of other people or a community in the most positive and inspirational way. For some of you, this could actually mean that the next step in your career is for you to share your knowledge. If you have been in an activity for a long time, well, then you can imagine that you accumulated experience and very personal know-how and methodology, which makes you the most appropriate teacher as soon as you accept this new role, which might come in the year 2021. And even if you're not sure about this, or you might think that, well, you don't really embody the archetype of a teacher, you never know how good it feels, how rewarding it can be unless you try it. Even if it might be something as minimal as becoming a trainer in the job that you're already doing, or in the company, or whatever special circumstances you have, that is still a valid way of manifestation of this energy. And the most important element, perhaps, the one that you might have been missing until this present moment, that it won't feel like a sacrifice. It won't feel like you having to give up on your time. It won't feel like a burden, like an obligation, like a responsibility, but it will feel as if you're doing this for yourself as well. It is going to be something very rewarding, very fulfilling. So naturally that 6 of coins is reversed, meaning that you're gonna invest not just material things in yourself, but you are also going to see yourself as someone who is truly worthy of respect as that professional or as that artist, creator, whatever this is. So your self-worth is definitely going to heal. It is going to be what you truly deserve. Because this 6 of coins reversed also means that perhaps in the past, especially when you were younger, when you were at the beginning, regardless if this is still just a hobby or you actually worked with this practically, there was a lot of times when you didn't feel the satisfaction, you didn't receive anything in exchange, or you doing this work was very, very hard and soliciting. So you kind of deserve the opposite of that. You deserve the ease, you deserve to be rewarded, not just symbolically, for everything that you're doing, everything that you are investing, and also for your positive and constructive and helpful attitude. And of course, these combinations of cards might be even more suggestive if you are someone who either lost their job and just couldn't find another one somewhere in the past 3 years, or if you're someone who is very, very skilled at something, but, life just didn't give you the opportunity to do whatever you love doing. Or if you're someone who just couldn't figure out what they're passionate about. Knowing how to do something, being able how to execute a job or whatever is one thing, but being passionate about it, loving it, and feeling that it's meant for you, it is part of who you are, that is a totally different thing. So that's why this Knight of Wands is so very suggestive, because it is the passion, the feeling of being alive, being relevant, being connected to whatever you want to do is the biggest part of this professional upgrade, so to speak. When you are aligned to your passion, when you love doing something, when it basically enchants your heart, then motivation and ambition and everything else it needs for a job to be successful, that comes with great ease. That comes as the cherry on top. That makes you even forget the time. It makes you be able to stay immersed in the eternal present, in the now, which basically is living life to the fullest. Now, even though the 3 of coins is a card which usually suggests like work or any kind of activity in its most usual sense, even if it's something charitable or something which doesn't create true profit, yet sometimes it also means life path, which is much more profound, because it means that it's something that is part of why you came here in this incarnation, something that you are meant to do in this life. So this means that, yes, for some people these are kind of correlated with their careers or jobs or how they make a living, livelihood, but for other people it can be much bigger than just that. So for some people, this is very, very significant, much more than just a job and livelihood or creativity, passion, hobby. It can be something extremely important karmically. And also, whatever this is, it is just the first stage. 2021 is the beginning of growth. So much more is to follow in the next years. And also, the Knight of Wands is suggestive in the sense that whatever you're gonna be doing, even if it's just a job, even if it's just, the material life, a lucrative purpose, well, you're still, believe it or not, see it this way or not, part of a greater change, part of a bigger upgrade that it's going to influence the whole of society in the years to come. So the fact that you're going to feel so very, at home is equally important for you personally as an individual, your karmic journey, etc. But it's also going to be important for the whole world because you're going to be one of those individuals who hold a specific frequency on which the future is being built on. For those of you who have chosen the 5th pile, your cards are the Death, 9 of Coins, and 7 of Wands. Now these combinations of cards are very heavily karmic. So your situations are not coincidental. The timing of when things happened is also very important and relevant. Because 2021 is going to be a year of completion. But what happens after that completion? Well, that is totally up to you. And why I'm saying this is because for you guys, it is more like the past and the present which results from that is the most important. The future, how things are going to continue from here, that part is kind of easy. That part is kind of straightforward. As soon as you have your moment, as soon as you have your breakthrough, well, everything is gonna work like clockwork afterwards. So let me explain it in more detail. Well, the card which opens your reading is the Death card, which means a massive and profound change. Now, this doesn't really reflect 2021, but it reflects the past 4 years where perhaps 2019 or 2020 might have been the year where this energy was the most concentrated. Now, the Death naturally means losses. It means an unfavorable event, maybe a crisis, which has swept over your lives. For some people, this was a separation, maybe a divorce. For other people, this might have to do with the material side of things. For example, you might have lived a very decent lifestyle with everything that you need materially in your life. And because of some events, you might have lost everything, even the decency, and you had to struggle. You started a period of scarcity and a lot of struggle. For other people, maybe it was their careers which ended in a very dramatic way. For others, this might have to do with their health, their physical, bodily well-being. So they might have went through a really tough illness and they're still recovering from it. But of course, that illness shut out so very many other things from their life. So it wasn't as easy as just the illness itself. While for others still, this can be losing a person, but that loss might have truly destroyed you from the inside and you're still not 100% recovered. Now, regardless of how this Death card played out in the past, it was very impactful, it was very challenging, it was really, really hard to even survive, even to accept the situation. But at the same time, right now when you look back at it, You already see the logic, you see why it had to happen, you see that it wasn't as bad or as negative as you thought it was or how it felt back then. You are through a lot of healing, a lot of wisdom, a lot of understanding, a lot of inner work. You don't see any of that as a massive tragedy or as something truly unfair. You understood why it had to be like that, the timing behind it, what it was built upon, and at the same time why it had to crumble. Because it was the way it was. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad, but it wasn't you. So even if your life before then was, let's say, very happy, very stable, very grounded, it still wasn't you, and it somehow kept you in chains. So it had to fall, it had to be demolished. Because yes, you did lose very valuable things, but you also lost a lot of doubts, insecurities, fears, guilt, shame. So basically you also lost the inner filth. You lost your shackles, your chains, your bad unconscious patterns, your unhealthy routines, all the illusions and, self-deceptive tendencies, and perhaps more importantly, ignorance. Ignorance when it comes to yourself and your situation. And this is why, that old stability had to fall, because it wasn't stable because that stability was a blessing. It was stable because you endured. It was stable because many times you chose not to express your feelings, not to express some of your other needs, because material needs are not the only thing that we have in life. There is so much more than that. And of course, there were very many things in your past which caused you pain, which caused you traumas that you simply couldn't understand, couldn't accept, and you could not forgive, regardless if those bad things were due to another person being unfair, or if it was just fate, or if it was just your own weakness or bad choices. So basically this death card represents a massive change that followed the losses. But of course none of this came easily, because it was like a constant dark night of the soul, constant depression, constant not understanding why it had to happen to you, what did you do wrong. And having these answers was imperative for your healing, for recovery. And recovery only started when you realized that you can't really blame yourself. And on the other hand, one way or another, you actually desired this deep within yourself, because you desired honesty, you desired to live in truth, you desired to be who you truly are, not who you are being conditioned of being. And it was all this big turmoil which was the cost of living in honesty and of being who you truly are. So slowly but surely, you kind of changed your feelings from regret and sorrow. You managed to reach a state of gratitude where you're kind of grateful for an external circumstance or event or even karma, call it whatever you want, to demolish that which you just couldn't break yourself. The prison, the old, and the very old, as in all those traumas which corrupted your life and made them feel like a prison. So let's get to 2021 now, because all of this is history. all of this was lived and experienced already, and you are actually at the final stages of your recovery, of your healing, regeneration in all of its expressions, psychologically, spiritually, and materially. And that is why the Nine of Cups is going to be the predominant energy for you guys in 2021, which means independence, freedom, even materially and financially, and simply being able to express who you are unapologetically, living life the way you want to live it, owning explanations or justifications to no one but yourself. So that means being the king of your own castle, but not just psychologically, because you have done everything that was needed to be that way psychologically, but now materially has to follow. Whatever material means for you and for your situation. If it means finding an ideal job, then that is what is going to take place. If it means recovering your losses, if it means completing your physical healing, if it means simply being able to enjoy life, not mourning as deeply anymore if it was a person who you lost, or if it was like a divorce or failed partnership, then the Nine of Coins is being proud of who you are, how your life is, valuing your independence. And all of these, of course, make you magnetic, make you very, very attractive, so the world will open up to you once more. And this is really, really good news, because that Nine of Coins suggests that the healing and regeneration phase is no longer just an inner work, just, self-psychoanalysis and getting help and doing this and that for yourself to improve your situation, etc. But actually, it's a physical manifestation of everything that you have done psychologically. So that is really, really good news. Simply said, how do you feel? What is your relation with yourself? Check in on your self-worth. Check in with your thoughts, with your ideals, with your hopes and dreams. And simply said, that person who you are has to have even a material life supportive and correlated to your personality and who it is that you are, based on your preferences, your individuality, your uniqueness, your distinctiveness. So whatever it is that you need in your life to materially or physically enable this, that is what you're gonna get. And believe it or not, the getting there part is gonna be quite easy, almost effortless, even though it was the exact same thing that was impossible, no matter how you tried until this present moment. That is gonna be the easiest part. And the hardest part is preserving it. The Seven of Wands is preservation. Defending your well-being, not allowing anything inner or outer to get you out of your flow, to get you out from your frequency. Because whatever you did, it was for the long-term future, perhaps for the rest of your life. So it isn't something for the short term at all. That's why your losses and the bad things that happened were so impactful, because all of this healing and this new you serves for the rest of your life. So we are speaking about the really long-term future. So you have to preserve who you are, how your life is, whatever you're going to receive in order to live the way you want to. That will be the biggest duty that you're gonna have, to preserve it, to protect it. Not obsessively, not through control, not through shutting people out, or living in an invisible bubble where no one can enter, but rather through wisdom, through diligence, and through believing in yourself and in your choices. And there is no reason why this well-being cannot last for the rest of your lives. The only condition being always embody wisdom and diligence and everything that fate and life and the karmic forces have revealed to you and have taught you. As long as you trust yourself, the universe trusts you as well. So this concludes our reading. I do hope that you enjoyed it and you found it useful. And please remember, if you would like to enjoy more readings like this one all throughout this year, please consider supporting us, sponsoring us, because without your help we won't be able to keep on creating. So thank you again. Until next time, bye for now.